evening and welcome to the regular scheduled workshop of Wednesday, November 19, 2025. Tonight's we have two discussion items. First one is the New Haven Road for the new HRA development. Ms. Solivanti.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Jesse has been following through on this road development project with our consultant engineer, LHB. And as the work has been progressing, we have noticed a couple of things. One, we do, and I will add a side note, the reason I'm coming to you in workshop tonight is we are working to apply for a CDBG grant for phase 2 part of the road, and that is due December 1st.
Okay.
So, Ron, can you put up my, okay. Jesse made a picture for me tonight. So he would normally be carrying this, but he's not here, so I'm going to read his email and then we'll talk. So after looking at the New Haven Drive project closer, it is his opinion that we cannot extend the new road onto 39th Street. It is a residential street that cannot accept the through traffic from New Haven Drive. Okay. The right-of-way width is only 33 feet, which is half the right-of-way for a through street. The bituminous driving surface is 24 feet wide. In order for this to be made to a through street, the right-of-way would need to be widened to 66 feet, which would require the city to acquire additional right-of-way from the adjacent property owners. From the north to the south of 39th Street, the homes and garages are closer than that 66 feet apart. So what he is proposing at this stage then is the road design that was in your packet again tonight. You will notice that Masabi Manor on the 00619 parcel, which is the one to the east, right after the driveway into their parking lot, he's proposing that we dead end that road and not cross that snowmobile trail. That would also require, though, that we leave the roadway to 6th Avenue open for fire, EMS, and those sorts of activities if needed. Remember, the plan before was to use it during the phase 1 construction. Yes. And then berm that afterwards. But due to the ordinance of no dead-end streets longer than 600 feet, we would need to leave that 6th Avenue roadway open and not be bermed. That doesn't mean we have to pave it or put bituminous down or any of those sorts of things. We would just need to make sure it remains available for fire, EMS, and those sorts of things. So we wanted to bring this to you as soon as we sort of understood what this was showing from the design standpoint and ask your opinions on how you'd like to proceed with this.
So what Jesse's talking about doing is putting a large turnaround at the end of that street, I would assume.
Correct.
That can be plowed.
Yep. Yep. So it'd be like a T, or, you know, he's referred to, we could do a cul-de-sac, but if we're not doing any future development to the east of that cul-de-sac, it maybe wouldn't make sense to do that whole thing with curb and gutter. Okay. So it might make sense to just do a T so they could pull in and back up. Keeping in mind the scope narrative for New Haven Drive is a 36-foot wide road, 2 12-foot driving lanes, and 4 feet of bike path on either side. So curb side to curb side, it is 36 feet wide. So if you try to narrow that down then to the 24-foot bituminous, that's a big 12-foot, 6 feet on either side.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So, Betsy, how does Jackie feel about this with her project and her development team? How does the HRA feel about this? Does it work or?
Yep, okay. It works for the project development team, but I do have Jackie here with me tonight. So if she wishes to speak to that, she can approach the podium as well. Okay. It does, however, service the development needs. It was more a conversation about traffic flow and through which neighborhood, those sorts of things. If this is a connector from 9th Avenue to 1st Avenue, the odds that most folks from the neighborhood, from, is it Westgate, that's right near there, Grace Lutheran Church, and the other, the Cobb Cook and Masabi Manor would use it to connect to 1st Avenue, that might happen, right? Based on it's a 6-foot wide road on the New Haven Drive side.
Okay, thank you.
How will this affect if we move forward with Cobb Cook Place access to phase 2?
It should be perfectly fine, because we would still write the grant for the phase 2 funds. We would still bring the road along all the way to Mesabi Manor's driveway. We would create the whole roadway around, you know, these two developments, but not connect it through that smaller neighborhood that's on 38th Street on the other side of the snowmobile trail.
And it was at 6th Avenue East that we had talked about one time, going out there? Trying to go past Jasper Engineering?
That's Fifth Avenue West goes north from Jasper. We would
Yes.
have to do some acquisition of property there as well, because that right-of-way is smaller as well.
But
Or the 6th Avenue West.
What I'm asking, could we not put if we're gonna put a non-service, non-finished road that's just there for access for emergency vehicles, why couldn't 5th Avenue West work rather than 6th?
I don't know, it's not what the traffic engineers are recommending right now, or our city engineer was recommending, based
Yeah.
on knowing what goes into that Jasper parking lot. They use that as their entrance. But that's a part I'm not qualified to speak to.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but if the one comment you made regarding 6th Avenue West would not be paved, would just be an access, I guess what I'm asking, what is the difference where that access is? And I know that we would have to look at possibly purchasing some property if we did, but that does bring you right adjacent to the Cobb Cook property, Cobb Cook Place property, so,
It brings you right adjacent to Mesabi Manor.
yes.
Yeah, we'd have to, and the road there isn't built. 6th Avenue West is built all the way down to New Haven Drive.
Yes.
So it just requires, it's already there.
Yes,
Yeah, this would require a new roadway to be constructed as well.
I think that
Yep.
5th Avenue was designed as an alley width. I think that was
Yeah.
one of the issues, whereas
That's
6th
also-
is a
Well,
little
if-
wider.
right, and I agree with that 100%, Counselor Fossil, if we were gonna make it a full road, but if it was just designed for emergency access, you don't need a full road. You can get by with 20 feet.
I concur.
Wasn't there a concern that it was like 16 was the right-of-way
Yeah.
on Fifth?
Yeah.
I could be wrong,
Yeah.
but that's,
Right, and so I can have them bring that, conversation to you,
Yeah.
at the next meeting. The
Right.
problem is I have to be able to apply for a grant
Right,
by December 1st if we're gonna hit the CDBG deadline, and unless I have a scope and a narrative and an understanding of, how to describe that road.
let me
I won't be
clarify
able to
this, the way I'm thinking, Ms. Olivanti, with Cobb Cook Place, that's the one we're doing right now.
Correct.
Going the direction you're saying right now, opening up that 6th Avenue East or 6th Avenue West,
West.
because we need that right now anyways, even if it's temporary,
Yep.
with the turnaround or T, and we could address the 5th or 6th West when we move forward with the second phase. What you want us to understand is we can't go through on 39th.
Correct.
So I think everybody, understood that, correct?
I also won't be
Yeah.
able to apply for phase 2 funding now for CDBG, so we'd miss that window.
Right. Okay.
So, not that this is, where's the bus stop in all of this for Jackie, for the project?
I believe they come right to the building.
Do they come to the building? Sorry,
She doesn't want to get yelled at by
I'm so
Ron.
sorry.
Ms.
No worries.
Prescott, please
Ms.
come to the
Prescott.
front.
Yes.
We are actually working with Arrowhead Transit on that, and I believe what they plan on doing is coming to the end of the driveways for each of them. Or else they could come up, I don't know if you've seen the site plan, but it goes back quite a bit, and because we're serving such a large number of households, I do believe that we could work with them to see if they'd be willing to come up the drive. But we haven't necessarily set where that's gonna be.
Yeah.
But they've been very open in conversations and willing to work with us on what we need.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
Yes,
Appreciate
super.
that.
Yes,
I did have a question.
or Ms. Solavanti?
Yeah,
or-
so if we don't go all the way to 39th, instead that road would tee well before we get close, is that correct? Is it more towards where that driveway would be? for
Okay, I'm
the-
just trying to bring up the other
It'd
map
probably
here.
tee
Okay,
on about
so you're
Fifth.
talking, right,
Here-ish,
here?
yeah.
yep,
Would it be possible to still create a walking and bike path to create better walkability for these two developments?
to
Through
connect
that
through to
same,
here?
yeah. Because
Potentially.
I'm just thinking, hospitals that way, grocery stores, gas stations, all within walking. So if we could figure out a bike path to continue through that, even though if we're not building a road, I think that'd be a great idea.
Yep, so I can ask them
I do
that
too.
option, absolutely. And that actually would feed right into the CDBG priorities as well, because they like recreational
Yep.
connections along with the infrastructure. So, I could, back to phase 2 on the road, and grant opportunity. We could talk about that phase 2 grant and only talk about the portion to access this, this particular development and then a potential bike path to, through to that area.
39.
And then take on either the 6th Avenue or 5th Avenue West connection through, the city itself, and
Yep.
just leave that out of the scoping narrative. And then that way you would have more time to make that decision and see how that traffic flow would go.
That makes
And
sense.
also get Jesse's input on, can we run it up 5th Avenue West next to, the industrial instead?
I think that's,
That might be helpful,
Yep.
right? So then you're not just taking,
well, if we can, I think Counselor Fossil had a great idea. It's just connecting the community. It didn't have to be a road, but I do agree with what he said. You have service, you have a gas station up there, you have things that people want to go that direction, whether it's by bike or walk, whatever it might
They
be.
may want to go complain right to the mayor directly.
That's right.
That's right.
But anyways, I think that what you just said, Ms. Olavanti, I think makes a lot of sense. And if that does help you for CBDG
Yep.
funding, to think about that.
yeah, to have the correct narrative and
Yeah.
scope ready to go.
Yep.
And I think
And-
that's a good way forward, if you're all right with. Okay.
Mhm. Everybody?
Yeah, I just have just a curious question. We talked about 39th not being big enough. Am I seeing that did you already talk about Third West? Third West, does that pare down too far to be an access through?
Yeah, that one is the same size, I believe, as the 39th. It's not as wide as like 2nd Avenue or 1st Avenue.
Yeah.
Those ones are the more 36, or the full boulevard,
So it's the
right?
same size as 39th then?
I think it might have a little bit more of a right-of-way, but it definitely doesn't have a much larger bituminous,
Just curious.
yeah.
Okay.
No,
All
these
right.
are great
Any
questions.
more questions, counselors? All right, I thank you for bringing this before us, and
Yeah.
thank you, Ms. Prescott.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll now move on to budget updates. Ms. Mulner, Mr. Prasinski.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. This evening, I handed out for you just a one-page, double-sided summary sheet of the 2026 final budget levy analysis that Josie prepared following our last workshop meeting. After discussion, it sounded like the council was in the most support for option number 3, which is on the back, which would be a reduction of the $190,000 in the permanent improvement levy for Pintar to Marksmanship Road. And then we would increase the future rec center pre-design budget from $50,000 to $78,000, so a net increase of $28,000 for that. And then the Memorial Building roofing of $282,000, and then using our reserves to fund the rest of the City Hall window project. This would increase the levy from what we had before in the 4s to 5.99%, but it would still be a reduction from our preliminary levy that was set at the 9.99%. This was reflected in your budget books. Everybody should have gotten a copy of a budget book. So I'm just looking for feedback or any comments on what's in the book or in this for possibly bringing it forward on December 3rd for a vote.
I just had one quick question to make sure I'm aware of the costs of the numbers we're looking at. So we're looking at an increase for 5.99%, but the preliminary statements that just came out the other week, could you go over again what that number was?
9.99% was the increase in the proposed tax statements that are being sent out this month.
So we should, if we approve the 5.99, it would be a 4% decrease from that.
That's
Okay.
right.
Thank you.
Counselors, any question? I know there were 6 proposals that were put before us, and this was number 3,
3, yep.
that at our last meeting, committee of the whole, or not committee of the whole, now I'm dating myself, working session that the council had said they preferred looking towards number 3.
Yeah, I think number 3 is a great option. It really kind of hits a bunch of different spots all at once and gets us ahead of the game.
Yeah, so I had some questions for Sheena earlier today, and I kind of want to talk about it with the group, because I don't even want to open that can of worms, but I think we have to. I think we sit in a unique financial position. I don't know how long it's been since we've been building that, our general fund balance, but it's been a long time that we've had an increased balance in there. If you do some looking around on general spending for municipalities, there's kind of a range you want to be in operating expenses as far as how much cash you have holding in your accounts, and I think we have too much. And if we have too much cash, or at least undesignated money in our accounts, I think we owe that to our taxpayers to use that to plan to reduce the levy either this year or in the future years, using some of that cash reserve. And I know that's unpopular, but I mean, we taxed people for that money years ago, and we still have it, and we haven't used it, and it was extra. And I mean, I'm not saying to use it all, but I'm saying there is a healthy amount that we should keep, but I don't think we should be keeping more than the healthy amount, which is typically, what, 45%, 40%?
That's correct, Councilor Bayless. A lot of cities do set their fund balance policy around the 45% threshold. The reason the city of Hibbing is a little bit unique is because of our reliance on LGA. LGA is about $10 million of our budget. We don't get that first half of it until July. Also, we don't get our first tax apportionment until July, which is also half of our tax levy. So therefore, we have to sustain the first 6 months of operations with our fund balance. And that is why I believe that the city years ago had set the fund balance policy so high. It's just because of that reliance on outside funding.
And I want to add to that, I know I testified twice, the LGA formula does not work for the city of Hibbing. That's why we've been, even though the amount is large, we've been underfunded, and we tried, because of the uniqueness of our city, the size of our city, the percentage of what we get is really not correct compared to what other cities get.
Yeah.
And I've testified twice to have an adjustment done. It has not happened. If that happened, then I would agree 100% with what you said. But there was, as Ms. Mullner had just mentioned, there was a reason because of how much LGA is affecting our budget and carries the weight.
Yeah, well, I think it's a timing matter, really, is what
Yeah.
she's saying. It's a timing of when we get the LGA money in.
Yeah.
And while I agree with that, I still think we hold
Yeah.
more cash than we should be holding. We've taxed people. I mean, I said earlier, I think to Sheena, we've got money from the 90s sitting in our general fund, and those dollars are worth 50 cents now, because we taxed for them in those previous years, and if we don't spend them sooner, we're wasting purchasing power.
I'd like to comment to that too. I think with the projects we have going on right now, from our public safety building, city hall, the projects we've updated our equipment. I think we've done a very responsible response to having some of those additional funds in moving our capital equipment forward, repairing our buildings, which sat and wasn't done. So I think we've taken a great approach of spending some of that down.
Yep, I would agree.
And I'm not disagreeing with the point you're making. What is that fine line and where we need to be, but we are a little unique compared to most cities, just because of the way our city is structured with the size and the square miles that we maintain.
Yep.
And I do, to piggyback on what you were saying there, we have done a lot of projects. I mean, we have a lot of new projects going on as well. What I was going to come out and say is thank you for the good work that everyone has done. You really sharpened your pencils and to get it down to where it is. Hats off to everybody. Kudos for all your hard work. The other thing too is I think it's important to keep our bond rating where it is. So, thank you. Not disagreeing. I think we're all, you know.
Well, I think there needs to be some structure behind it, really. I mean, I mean, we can pass over it this year, but I'll bring it up again next year. If we're holding too much cash, we owe it to our taxpayers to utilize that money.
Well, and maybe that's something we can talk about when we have our, what are we doing? A retreat?
Yep, absolutely,
Yes.
yeah. And Sheena and I talked about that. We can set some parameters
Sure.
for how we want to do that if we have a
Yeah.
strategic approach to
Yep.
Right,
keeping a balance that makes
Agreed.
sense. So,
agreed.
I do like that idea and that concept. I do agree. I mean, when we look at our net levy increase, it is a lot, right? And I do see a way where, yeah, we are doing capital improvements, we're doing a lot of stuff, and we're making a lot of great decisions to really put the city in a good position for the future. But also, a small amount of our reserve that could be used for knocking off a chunk of even this year's net levy increase, I think would have a bigger impact to our residents and our taxpayers. And I think that's a very prudent thing to do.
So, yes, but, Sheena, can you tell me the numbers you said earlier on what the projected levy increases would be for the next 2 years even if we left it, even if we do 599, I think we were still around like 12 and higher, right?
That's correct, Counselor Bayless. We were, even with the 5.99, we're still projecting just with that gap in the operating deficit that we're expecting to grow, that the coming years would be in the double-digit increases of between like 12 and 16%. So that was part of why we had the conversation too of we do have a lot of capital needs still, and to make it so the levies, you know, got a trend upward and the increases are not all in one year. We don't want to see that impact to our residents where we do a really small increase and the next year we got to do a 20 on them, and now they're not used to that in their budget. So while yes, taxes keep going up and that's unfortunate, the costs keep going up, and the city does have financial needs that we have to try to sustain, so.
Yeah, and we did 3 last year, right?
It was 3.94, not exactly that,
It was
I can't
around
remember.
4.
It was
Yeah,
just under
that was-
4.
Just
That was the
about
lowest we've done since
Yes.
I've been on the
Yep.
council, and I was pretty happy with that, but now we're gonna kind of pay for that in the future. So I agree, if we could find a way to strategically do that and buy down 599, great. I'm also not gonna be upset at all if we just plan for the next few years to try and relieve some of that levy stress, because I know we're gonna be coming up against it next year.
And that's one of the reasons I really think that you gave us a 3-year projection, so that we could take a look at 3 years of budgets, not just live in the now. And I know at my mayor's meeting, which we had with Rams, almost every mayor there was 10 to 12% they're looking at a tax levy. So when we're talking 5, the county's 12.4, I think we've been very responsible in our approach to what we're doing with what we're taking on for the city.
Yeah.
And, we certainly we can cut out doing roads, we can cut out, again, I think it's something you say all the time, Mr. Bayless, you can't keep kicking the can down the road.
That's correct.
Well, that's what we could end up doing. So and I know that's a catchphrase, but it's true. We are trying to catch up right now.
Absolutely.
And it's unfortunate that we're at the end of the life cycle of almost all the infrastructure, not only in Hibbing or the state, but the whole country. And this is the generation that has to deal with it.
Yep.
And nothing's as cheap to build now as it was 60 to 80 years ago. So,
Well, maybe we can do a little work with the bond rating companies too on OPEB liability balances, so we don't have to carry millions of dollars for something that we could just levy for.
but that does
every
help our
year.
bond rating because
Yeah, it
we do
does.
carry, we've been very diligent, and I'm very proud of not just Sheena, but those before her and the councils before her that
Yeah.
did keep our OPEB going up. And that's one of the great things that gave us our bond rating that we have. So we've done a lot of good things for the right
Yeah,
reasons.
no, I agree. I just wish they didn't count that, because then we wouldn't have to do it. So, all right, I digress.
Yeah, great. I love the
Good
comment.
comments.
It was really good.
Yep.
Anybody else, any comments? Okay?
Thank you,
Sheena,
Sheena.
anything else
Yeah,
outstanding?
Thank you. Very
Thank
good.
you.
At this time, we will go to roundtable then.
Mr. Mayor, City Council. Did you call him?
No,
No, I
I'm
just
going
looked at
to
you
right now.
Because I know he's gonna call you first.
Administrator Pazinski, is there anything you want to add?
I thought I missed something. Sorry. Oh, one thing from my office. So kind of related to the budget, we talked about this rec center pre-design feasibility study. So in anticipation of this budget getting adopted, we have conducted our interviews. LHB was one of the chosen, and also JLG we interviewed. So of those two, we are planning to move JLG forward. Their partner on it is WIDSEF. We think that's a pretty good partnership. So I wanted to touch base on that. Do you want additional information, additional detail? Should we just go ahead and move forward, assuming that on December 3rd, the budget gets adopted? How would you like to have that conversation, if at all?
So we're looking at, Mr. Aroa, would you mind coming up since it'll be under you? Sure. So if you wouldn't mind just explaining where you want to go and what you're thinking as far as, because the money looks like it will probably be there for the
Yeah.
first phase.
Yeah, this is the next phase in pre-design, basically. So again, looking into more feasibility, digging into the site selection, what those costs would be, what would be favorable sites, what wouldn't. Just dig a little more into the money and the location. And then also the programming of it. What exactly would go in this building? We did the feasibility earlier on it and had, a lot of things in there, but what can we realistically afford to build and can this community sustain? So yeah, hope is to go through this, refine those numbers, get data to make a decision at the end of this. Okay, can we move forward with design in the future? Can we afford it? Do we have an operator to run it for us? Yeah. So that's the goal of this. While we're doing this with JLG and WIDSEF, Betsy and I are also getting quotes on a consultant, a fundraising specialist. We figure that's going to have to be a part of the conversation in the funding stack is fundraising. And this consultant will come in and help us with that side of the funding stack and do some preliminary digging into the community and what's out there in the community. What are people willing to give their money towards? Is there, what can the city be expected to pick up as far as a fundraising effort? So bring all that together at the end, and then hopefully by next budget season in 26, we can weigh our options, see where we want to go from there. Whether we move into design or we're not there yet. Either way.
Very good.
So.
Okay.
Sounds like a good plan.
I have a couple of quick questions.
Yes.
And I gotta say, one of the first things I ever did with the city government was work with Pete on this exact thing. And it's kind of nice to see it coming to fruition, but do we include that data? Because we did a lot of groundwork, or you did a lot of groundwork in the beginning
Nick
phases.
has everything
Yeah.
that was done back then.
Okay.
He is,
Yep,
do we
everything
want-
we've done, we've
Spark?
been including that and refreshing it and trying to bring it forward and not backtrack.
Okay, and do we want to maybe refresh, because we did some community input on that too, about what that would entail. And I don't know how much data we have on what people really want to see in that. Are we gonna update that, or did we do that?
Yeah,
already?
we did have that in the last feasibility
Okay.
study, we had the survey.
the Park and
This-
Rec study.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Park-
right, that's
and
right.
That's where it
Okay,
was.
I remember.
Yep.
And when we had JLG on the feasibility, we
Yes.
did another survey,
Okay,
specifically toward a rec center and what people want to see in it.
perfect.
But this will, again, this next phase two will also have public engagement. We have them scheduled for 12-plus stakeholder meetings and things like that. So we'll be meeting again with the public through the next 6 months on
Okay.
this project, so.
Great, thank you.
All right. Greg,
Any
anything?
other? Good?
That's it for my office, thank you.
That's it? All right, Candy,
I don't have
What's
anything
that for?
tonight. Thank you.
James?
I have two things. The first thing is I just want to let everybody know HPU and lead service lines. I'm sure people have heard a few things here and there about lead service line issues. We're doing exploration on as many lines as we can this year. The commission approved an extra amount of money to do more exploratory digs than we were originally scheduled to do. We did get $1 million from the state to do exploration and fixing and replacing the lines, but that's not gonna go very far. And I don't know if you were still there on the second day, maybe when they talked about lead service lines?
No, I was gone then.
You were,
yeah.
so last week at that conference, they said the state's gonna, hopefully, they're gonna pressure the state to fund $250 million into that water replacement fund again, but I don't know how much of that we're gonna get. So we're kinda trying to set the stage for the state to go ahead and approve us a larger amount of money, because we'll identify as many as we can before next year, so.
I just want to add, the water jet system that you're using is so minimal disturbance.
Slick, yeah.
It's about a 6 or 8 inch hole right alongside your service line, your shut off. And without disturbing much, it's easy to fill,
Yep.
plus you get what you need to know,
Yep,
so.
exactly.
That's an outstanding process.
Yeah,
that
it's
you're
worked
using.
really well. They're
Yeah.
doing a good job. The contractor's been great, so. Yeah, so, and if there's any questions on that, feel free to reach out to either me or Luke, and we'll get you any info you want. Raceway? Do we have any updates on anything?
No,
Okay. Nothing?
I know, everybody's on the edge of their seat.
Sorry.
But as soon as I hear, I will
Okay.
check in with you all.
Okay.
Counselor Fossil,
I've got nothing.
I'll ask you 310, no, I'm just kidding. I really have nothing tonight.
I just have a couple quick ones. And Jesse's gone, so maybe Candy, you guys can take this message back with these questions. You know where Dr. Smestead, the dentist, is? There isn't any real handicap parking spots there, and they do have an elderly population that they serve. The one is way at the corner, and then there's one across the street. So I don't know if we could have another handicap parking spot there in front of that, close to that dental office. So that's number one.
I'll bring that one to Jesse.
Thank you, thank you. And then this one here is, I have been asked by a few folks about, from like maybe the college down to the first road past Vic Power during the winter, if we can plow the Masabi Trail so that people can walk on it. Would it be, could we do that? Would it
Kerry
be-
Lake Trail?
No, from the Masabi
that
Trail.
first
from-
part.
Yes, yep, that first part. If it's feasible to do that financially and also with workforce. Because there really isn't any place to walk.
Where is that?
So when you get on the Masabi Trail right by the college.
Okay,
and
that's
you're
the
going
Kerry
by-
Lake Trail.
Oh, is that what that's?
That's Kerry Lake, yeah. Yeah, so right on the corner where the ball field is, right across the street.
All down,
Yeah,
yep,
yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's probably something the park could hit. I mean, yeah, that wouldn't be a big deal.
okay,
I don't think it would be,
okay,
when they're out doing their plowing.
great, thank you. That's all I have,
Yeah, that is Kerry Lake Trail.
yep, thank you.
Ms. Mulner?
Nothing else, thanks, Mayor.
Pass.
Pass. All right, Counselor Borland. All right, with that, that ends our working session for tonight. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.